Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 15, Episode 11. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Friday. Steelers Nation officially out of the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers training camp, which concluded on Wednesday. Pittsburgh held a joint practice with the Buffalo Bills on Thursday. That'll be their opponent Saturday night for their second preseason game, where Mike Tomlin says all who are healthy will play, as Pittsburgh hopes and looks for a cleaner outing compared to the opener against the Houston Texans. So welcome back. And Dave, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Happy Friday. Glad to be out of the training camp stuff now and into the meat of the preseason. Get the Buffalo Bills at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday night. According to what old Mike Tomlin said and the way this is shaping up, we should see some starters play some pretty fair amount of snaps and all. So really looking forward to not only the game, but as usual, the all 22 after it. And football season is close, right? We're coming up on, I guess, now 3 Sundays away from the Steelers' first regular season game. And I think we got a little bit to talk about today, don't we?
I think we do. And we're only 11 days away from when Pittsburgh and the rest of the NFL has to finalize the roster. Now, one big cut down from 90, or in Pittsburgh's case, 91, with the international exemption to 53. So that is coming up here really, really quickly. We'll talk about Mike Tomlin, Andy Weidl. They both spoke with the media yesterday, but let's start with some housekeeping, some transactions. And the most notable one Pittsburgh made yesterday ahead of that joint practice was unfortunate news for nickel cornerback Grayland Arnold, who had gotten healthy after a mid-camp injury, been working first-team slot corner, been competing for a spot with Beanie Bishop, suffered a calf injury on a kickoff drill during Wednesday's final camp practice, was left on a cart, and then he was placed on injured reserve yesterday, I should say. The team signed defensive back Keandre Thomas in his place, but Arnold, his season is over, barring an injury settlement in release. But really unfortunate for Arnold. He was competing for a spot, just gotten healthy and hurt again.
Yeah, that throws all wrench in the system, doesn't it? And I was really looking forward to watching him get an extended amount of snaps in this game against the Bills. I think he only got 5 in the first game against the Texans there, and things were sort of ramping up, shaping up for him to get, a longer look, I think, in the slot. So, yeah, I mean, you hate it for him, that's the unfortunate thing about this, especially when you talk about, those bottom end kind of cheaper guys on the roster, if you will. You got to stay healthy throughout this thing, and at least give yourself a chance to get through the preseason games to make plays, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. So we'll have to see how serious that calf injury is, whether or not he gets a injury settlement. And even if he does get an injury settlement, he obviously could return to the Steelers at some point, but obviously that would be into the season and all. So he's out of the picture now. So I guess that keeps Beanie Bishop Jr. in the driver's seat. And also, I would think your camp darling, Thomas Graham Jr. We should probably get a chance to see quite a bit of him now in this game against the Buffalo Bills. So unfortunate, but that's the way this thing goes when you get into the summer camp practices.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, generally speaking, was pretty healthy this training camp. No major long-term injuries, obviously some to the rookies and Fautanu in the preseason game and Roman Wilson, the first padded practice, but nothing that would derail or incredibly impact their season. But this was a tough one for Arnold because he was fighting hard for a spot. And like you said, it's a great point. He was going to play a ton against Buffalo, really have a chance to make a case for himself. And that opportunity will not happen. So for the here and now, it's Bishop, Graham, maybe. He's had a really good camp. I do wonder about lack of special teams value. I think he'll have to really show that in this Bills game as well. But those are really the two names to watch for in the slot battle right now, with Bishop, I think, pretty clearly the front runner, but still more to evaluate on him. Speaking of injury settlements, a team released nose tackle Braden Fehoko with an injury settlement yesterday. He suffered looked like a left shoulder injury midway through training camp, was placed on IR a couple days ago and then released. So maybe a chance he could come back to the team, but right now he is a free agent.
Yeah, out of the picture, obviously, when it comes to 53-man roster and likely practice squad at the start of the season. Don't have a length on the injury settlement on him. Just guessing, maybe, probably 3 weeks, 6 weeks or something like that. Then obviously we could see him potentially resurface at some point if he doesn't latch on with another team on the practice squad. But for now, out of the picture, another guy out of the picture here.
Yeah, and just unfortunate. He's a guy that probably would have been ticketed for a practice squad spot where he spent most of last year and could have been called up, a good run plugger. But, we'll have to see what his future and health looks like, and if he can get on a roster, Pittsburgh or otherwise, at any point sometime later this season. All right, Dave, where to now? Do you want to go over what Tomlin and Weidl had to say during their press conferences? Neither said anything earth-shattering. I guess with Tomlin, really the only notable thing that I took away from that, not that it's any surprise, is that Russell Wilson will play and Russell Wilson will start. Tomlin said the ones are expected to go about the first 4 series. I imagine there could be some leeway in that based on how the game actually goes, but that's the situation. Russell Wilson will get the nod and make his Steelers in-stadium debut Saturday night.
Boy, I tell you, your hope is Russell Wilson goes out there, gets 2 drives, buries the football a couple of times in the end zone, and then that plan changes. But it sounds fluid, but it sounds also like the framework initially is, like you said, 4 series from Tomlin, at least from a good number of those starters there. And first time we get to see Russell Wilson in a game-like setting in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. So that should be exciting. And I think he was asked about Justin Fields and playing time. And I think so many words he said don't have really a concrete kind of structure set up there. But I'd like to see Justin get 3-4 series in this game as well and get a chance to clean up, those center quarterback exchanges and, hopefully not get sacked a couple of times like he did in that first game. So we're going to have a lot to talk about the quarterback position on the Monday podcast, Alex. And, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. It's good to get both those guys out there. I mean, I thought you can't, like I said previously, you can't hand wave away the botched exchanges between Herbig and Fields. Those are detrimental to your chances. And thankfully, Pittsburgh recovered both. Fumble luck can go anyway on any given day. But as an actual quarterback, once he got past all that, going 5 of 6, I thought Fields played well. And so I want to see that continue. I want to be able to evaluate that further. I mean, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm playing Fields a lot in this game. I'm playing him, 3-4 series, like you said, at least, but maybe even longer, maybe into the third quarter of this one, because I want to be able to learn as much about these guys, especially if we still assume, I know Pittsburgh has not declared it, but if we assume that Russell Wilson starts, we're not going to see a ton of Justin Fields in the regular season as a traditional quarterback. I think they certainly will have a package of plays for him, but it's not going to be, the amount of snaps he'll get in preseason action where he can play 20, 30, 40 snaps. And so the more that you can learn about him now, even though it is just preseason action, the more information you have, the better off you are.
Yeah. And they could feels like they could carve out a lot of playing time for him. I don't think it's necessarily important to get Plumlee in the game at quarterback in this second preseason game, unless maybe you want to roll him out there for that final series or whatnot. I would maybe look toward with 3 preseason games now, it does it feel like this is the tune-up game, or do you think they will treat the next one as in other words, do you think there's a chance Russell Wilson starts the final preseason game as well too? What I'm getting at here is Plumlee is not going to be in the plans barring injury here. So the onus should definitely not be, in my opinion, to get him snaps in this game. If you want to get him any snaps late in the final preseason game, that's fine. But you've got four new quarterbacks in the room here. And these top three, I think you need to learn as much about them as possible during the preseason. And obviously you got a couple of series out of Fields in that first one. And then you got to see a little bit more Kyle Allen, obviously, there. But what do you think? We're jumping ahead here, but do you think they'll use the final preseason game as a tune-up one?
I forget exactly how it went last year. I think the starters did play a little bit in the third game, but I think overall the second game is going to be treated as the true tune-up, where all the starters are playing, everyone who's healthy is going. They're going to see extensive action. 4 series can be potentially, quarter and a half or so, depending on, how things go. So, could Wilson start the finale against Detroit? It's possible. There might be a benefit to playing some starters on the road to get a road environment feel, even though it's preseason crowd. That's the only road game Pittsburgh has in the exhibition slate this year. And also with Wilson missing some time, getting some more reps for him will be important. But I think this will be the tune-up. And yeah, we saw a ton of Kyle Allen in the opener, which is fine, but you don't need to give him a ton of snaps in this game because you've already kind of gotten a lot of situational work with him, some end-to-half stuff, late game stuff, a lot of just, volume of snaps for Allen against Houston. So in this game, to me, I'm really going with Wilson and Fields, and whatever the other guys get is not really high on my list of concerns.
Let's say Kenny Pickett, remember him? 11 snaps in that preseason finale last year. It looks like
didn't they go down because they were 5 of 5 on their touchdown drives? I think they had a quick score and then they were done.
Yeah. What did he go in that game?
I don't know how they scored, but I just know that was the big stat line, 5 of 5 with the ones last year for touchdown drives.
It was a Najee 1-yard run, a Jaylen Warren 8-yard run, a Boswell 38-yard field goal in the first quarter there. So they popped up 17 points in the first quarter alone. Pickett in that game, 4 for 4, 86 yards.
And it was like that for the rest of the regular season, right? Just aces the rest of the way. So we'll see. But yeah, for the here and now, Wilson will start. Excited for him. What do you want to see in particular from Wilson in this game?
I want to see the football flying down the football field. I'd like to see, look, they're not going to reveal their hand on a lot more concepts, but I would think that they'd build off of the couple of concepts that they had in the passing game in the first one there. Just want to see how in tune he is with these top receivers, with Pickens and with Jefferson and Austin, and want to see him under center utilized to play action. Wouldn't mind seeing a handful of snaps in the pistol, and just his overall demeanor, which, I mean, he's a veteran guy. I mean, I think we know what to expect as far as him leading the offense and all. Obviously, don't want to see the center quarterback exchanges. Just give yourself a chance to utilize and run all the plays on the plays that you're out there. Don't get yourself in mistakes where you're 2nd and 11 or 3rd and 9 situations there. Just give yourself a chance to run the plays the way you probably have them scripted out at the beginning here, and then obviously make sure you're able to make the most plays that you can in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's really nothing in particular I want to look for. Just kind of getting first time in, first feel inside a stadium for this new quarterback. And, just hopefully you're checking routine boxes in terms of moving the offense a bit. And like you said, playing clean procedurally, cleaning up snaps. And, not that Wilson was at fault, obviously sitting out the opener. I do want to see him, hopefully not under extreme duress, but just move around once, an extended play, scramble drill, see him roll out and take off and just see how he's looking on the move. He was just starting to kind of at the end of camp the last 3 days where it felt like the training wheels were off and he could scramble a bit and either given permission or just felt good enough to run around a little bit. So I do want to see just one play, and hopefully it's a scramble drill where it doesn't get hit, but just kind of something where the defense blankets things. It's a 3rd and 5. They're running 2-man and you got to extend the play and wait for someone to get open. Just to see how Wilson moves is kind of what I'm looking for in this one.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Anything else from Tomlin in this presser? It was pretty dry overall. There was not a lot of great questions, not a lot of great answers.
I guess asked about the status of Nate Herbig. He says he's got a training camp-like injury. We'll wait and see his level of availability before I declare that. And that's one of the things I was talking about in terms of the 11th hour decision. We're going to leave the door ajar. We're in door ajar season.
Lights on, doors ajar.
For as many as we can. It certainly doesn't. I mean, we still got time before this game. Doesn't feel like we're going to see Nate Herbig in this game, and not that doesn't hurt my feelings overall because I want to see a lot of Zach Frazier in this game. Got a great film room up on the site by you on Frazier, and really thought he represented himself well in that first game. Damn it, I want to see some Zach Frazier in this game. A lot of it too. And once you get past him, obviously, and look, I mean, if Nate Herbig suits up, maybe he can get a couple of snaps in this game. But this would be a great opportunity, especially against the competition and all, to get a really, really long look at Zach Frazier in this game.
And assuming that Russell Wilson is your week 1 starter, it's good to get some in-stadium reps between, your starting quarterback and potentially your starting center, should that be Zach Frazier. And so that's important to do, I think, before you get into week 1, especially when it's a rookie. It's the newness of everything, new quarterback, new center, new OC, and your week 1 matchup is going to be on the road in Atlanta. And by the way, that Falcons defense, it's getting tougher. They've added Matthew Judon. They signed Justin Simmons. They are loading up here this week 1 matchup. I know we're ways away, and I don't have a prediction, not making a prediction August 16th, but that is not going to be a cakewalk in week 1.
Yeah, exactly. On the road against a good defense that they've added to and all. You talk about the door ajar. The gate is ajar when it comes to this starting center position. And I think Zach Frazier has a good opportunity to walk through that gate and close it behind him in this game.
And lock it, potentially. Yeah, it's a great point by you. I think this is a chance for him to, as you say, Dave, these things have a funny way of working themselves out.
They do. Every year we think, and look, we've done this over the years, right? Okay, it's headed towards this way. And then for whatever reason, it works. So injuries or solid play, it has a funny way of working itself out. And you just gotta go along for the ride and note things in the moment. That's one of the things I've tried to do about this thing, is just take your camp reports, take these preseason games as just lines in the sand, analyze the moment, and don't get too caught up with the long term. Because look, I mean, we just talked about the cornerback position at nickel slot position at the top of the show there. Man, you want to talk about fluid right there right now. I mean, this thing really could end up with an outsider coming in here. And as you said, they could potentially use outside help as well on top of it. And you still got 2 preseason games to go where injuries could happen. But I think if we're living in the now, right now, Zach Frazier is one of the key guys in this game, along with obviously Russell Wilson, to watch play against the Bills.
Yeah, I think it's one of the top things to look for in this one, to see how Frazier continues to I think, ascend. And he got first team work yesterday in the joint practice. We know Herbig did not practice in that one. We're not sure about his game status, but my expectation as things sit here today is that Frazier will be the first team center in. He will start and be snapping to Russell Wilson when this game kicks off on Saturday.
All right, let's see what else from Mike Tomlin. I would like a rebuttal on this from you. All right. Okay. On what he's seen from Darnell Washington.
I was just gonna ask you.
I beat you to it. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Our long pre-show production meetings are getting shorter. I don't know that I'm surprised by anything that he does in the passing game. I think that component of his game has been underrated because of his stature and the things that he brings to the run game. But I think that none of that is surprising any of us. He's an effective guy. He's capable of creating separation at break points. He's got an awesome catch radius for a big man. He can catch balls on his back half or down low. He's a capable guy in that area.
Well, our pre-production meetings are getting so short, it's like they don't happen at all. That's
right.
Kind of where
Imagine
we're
that.
So in tune right now. To the Tomlin comments, I chuckled a little bit. I mean, I think Washington in moments can make plays, and you've seen him occasionally flash, but just not a guy that was super involved in the pass game in training camp this year. I'm still putting together my final camp stats, but I think he caught 8 passes in total during the 15 practices that I counted. I'm not counting that one walkthrough. I don't know how many he caught that day. So, in the 15 practices I'm counting, he caught 8 balls the entire time and was really quiet at the start. And it was really a primary blocking camp for Washington. So,
which I'm fine with too, because that's one area that we need Darnell Washington to take a step forward in the blocking department and become that guy. Go ahead.
Right. But there's even a lot of pass protection too. A lot of emphasis on that. You see in this game, they ran max protect play action 3-4 times. They were in 12 personnel. They keep both tight ends in, send 2 eligibles out with a running back leaking, and really just focusing on giving the quarterback time to make some throws downfield, which I'm not against, but it is just that's the reality of kind of how things went for Washington this camp. So when given the opportunity, he made some plays. I mean, is he a great separator? I don't know. I mean, you kind of see it in an occasional moment against a guy like DeMonte Casey, and kind of bursts away. But I think he's a pretty linear type of guy that's not super great at the break point unless he's got some momentum downfield, maybe on a post where he's kind of building up speed, but not going to run that tight 10-yard dig where he's going to break down and drop his hips and get away from the linebacker or something like that and create separation. So I think he'll get some red zone looks in Arthur Smith's system. Obviously, the frame is attractive when you got a 6'7" guy to throw to down there. Smith just in general likes to spread the love to all eligibles inside the 20, but I'm not expecting a dramatically big year when it comes to receptions with Darnell Washington.
Look, I think there's I think both of our takeaways here is there's a little bit of hyperbole in that, but there are some truths as well too. He does have a awesome catch radius for a big man. I mean, round mound to rebound, right? He can catch balls on his back half or down low. We saw that in his college tape. I think there was one in particular. Was it LSU or Florida, I think, where he had to reach back behind him for a low ball behind him. We've seen him catch him on his back half and down low. The thing that jumped out to me when Tomlin said it live was creating separation at break points. And I just wanted to see if I had missed anything during training camp on that.
Yeah, again, I mean, you can see it in some of the one-on-one competition periods. You saw him, but those were so slanted to the offense. And my takeaway is that that's true when he's got some speed, when he's got some runway. But how much will this offense afford him those runways? Not often.
Was it Louisiana Lafayette? That game?
The only play I can think about him hurdling the Oregon guys. I can't think of any other play. I have a vague recollection of the play you're talking about, but the opponent is, to use the Tomlin phrase, a nameless gray face in my head now.
My life is full of rabbit holes.
I'm sure.
All my life is rabbit holes. I hopefully I can find that. It's killing me right now.
Working title of your future autobiography. All my life is nothing but rabbit holes.
No, I'm work. That's a work in progress there. Oh no, it was Kent State.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you that right. See, the ability to get myself out of these wormholes quickly help move the show along here. The working title of my book is Dumpster Fire Within a Train Wreck.
Oh, I like it. Is it like colon within a train wreck or dash or just straight on through? Let me see this play here. I remember you tweeting about this play. Let me look here against Kent State. Oh yeah, the crazy adjustment on that outside the frame. Yeah, I mean,
It's funny how these things stick with you, at least with me, right?
So, I mean, he's going to catch more than 7 passes that he caught last year, which, I think his longest was 12. I think half of them were under 8 yards. Actually, I pulled a stat of players skill guys that played at least 500 offensive snaps last year. No one caught fewer passes than Darnell Washington, 7. The next closest was like 13 with Donovan Peoples-Jones. So, I mean, it's almost hard to be targeted less to play at the snaps that Washington will play in this Arthur Smith tight end heavy offense. He's going to catch more. I think he'll catch his first touchdown this year, but it's going to be like a 15, 20 catch, 100, making up numbers, 170 yard, 2 touchdown type season for Washington.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at here. Okay, and what else? Go ahead.
As you said, blocking is going to be the most important thing to judge his jump in year 2.
All right. Was there anything else from Mike Tomlin stuck out to you?
Really was it overall. And then transitioning to Andy Weidl, I mean, there were some good general comments to learn about his philosophy, which we've already kind of known about. We did a lot of deep dives on Weidl when they made the hire. Omar Khan did in 2022 about, building through the trenches, which is how this team has built their drafts, and the speed of receiver. Really talked up the speed of receiver. I know it's, easy to talk up your rooms, and we like all of our guys, of course, but really emphasizing how much faster the receiver room got.
Yeah, they're putting on a good front when it comes to that receiver room right now. So we'll obviously we remain on Ayuk watch right now, and we'll see how that plays out there. Other comments he made, a lot of praise for Peyton Wilson, and why not? They talked about how the tape showed that, and how even his tape in his first preseason game was something to build on, and how they made sure to spend a lot of time with him through the pre-draft process and all like that. So obviously, really, really high on him. I thought interesting quote, although not surprising, on Russell Wilson. What did he say about the arm? Where's the first, personable guy, genuine. Knew him from being in the NFC and never beat him. Knocked us out of the playoffs in 2019. Football lover, preparation. He works, takes care of his body. What was the comment about his arm?
I think he just said his arm still looked strong.
Majestic? Did he? Was that I thought there was a word about majestic arm or something like that. Oh no, he throws a majestic deep ball. Accurate.
Which is true. It's accurate. Yeah. I mean, it's a great deep ball. That throw to Calvin Austin late in camp for 60 air yards was as good of a throw as you'll see in a training camp.
Let's see what else caught my eye in this. Hope for Corey Trice Jr. this summer. I think every day he's getting better. He goes out there. He made a play the other night, a tackle for a loss, and that was great to see. And I think it's one of those things where he's just going to keep growing, getting better. And he had his rookie season for the most part taken away from him. And you've got to treat him as a rookie right now and what he's doing. But he really is smart, diligent, great frame on him, got length, moving a lot, moving well, and his willingness to tackle we saw the other night. So that's where they're at on Corey Trice Jr., which isn't overly surprising. You got to treat a guy like that as a rookie, especially for him missing the entire season.
Right. I think it's good framing overall. Just really happy that Trice was out there. First game in, he's healthy, he's progressed, and that's all encouraging. I still maintain this team needs to and will add a veteran outside corner. I think they need it unless Trice, Rush, somebody really steps up here these final 2 games.
It's hard to go against that thought process right there.
Yeah, I think you just want a vet with some more experience as opposed to Rush and Trice. And Rush has had a quieter camp and fell off after a decent start. And Trice should make this team. I think they like him, but do you want to hand the keys to let him be next man up if one of your starters got hurt early in the season? I think it's asking a little bit too much from him right now.
And Weidl obviously stayed away from all the trade rumors, deferring to Omar Khan, but only would say one of the things we do as any player that becomes available, we always do our due diligence and we always talk about them. So there.
Which is, company line there. But I think he mentioned a couple historic trades for players, but none of that really means much. And for the Ayuk front, not to dwell on that today, there really is no news. Kyle Shanahan spoke yesterday. He literally said there is no update. There is no change. we're just in a holding pattern. We're on IU attending practice watch, but there's really no updates there.
All right. Anything else from Andy?
It was funny to talk about the rookie class, and he mentioned watching Zach Frazier. I think it was the West Virginia Pitt game or some game, and Weidl was with Dan Colbert, one of the personnel members, Kevin Colbert's son, and they both said like, "Hey, did you see this West Virginia guy just dumping people out there?" And both caught that when they were watching the game. So it's funny to watch the scouting process or hear about those stories when they're watching a guy a couple of years ago and now he's in their building.
I would like to follow around a scouting team through the games and see the process firsthand. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I know Steelers.com on their standard series, when they do one of their off-season combine segment each year, you can get a little window into that. I think they follow Colbert around some of the Mac stuff, maybe either this year or last year. I forget the timeline. I mean, it's honestly probably a little boring because it's just a guy, quietly watching the game. But you'd love to be a fly on the. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for those war room conversations. How some of these teams are doing the docu-series on the draft, and you got kind of the insight into their discussion in the war room. Man, that's where I think I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
If you were a general manager like Omar Khan, would it be hard to delegate and not try to watch all the film?
I think for us it'd be tough.
Because you got to put a lot of trust into what these reports say, right? I mean, because there's not enough hours in a day. And we know this just for doing it all the years on the site. No, there's just not enough hours in a day to watch three games properly on even 100 guys.
Yeah, I mean, they
much
some
less
better
200.
Right. They have better tech to be able to produce some better cut-ups and probably be able to look at things more segmented in terms of, I want to see all the pass protection snaps on third down of this left tackle, and get that cut up there probably pretty quickly, or have someone do it and be able to fly through it a lot better than us, who kind of have to go through everything, even the plays where nothing really happens. So I'm sure they're more efficient, but yeah, the GM's job is to delegate and to trust these guys. That's why you have a Weidl, why you have an expansive scouting staff, and frankly, a pretty brand new front office. This team has had a lot of turnover, and Weidl briefly spoke about that. This is a front office that, for most of Kevin Colbert's tenure, had just the same people in it. Not saying it's a bad thing. It just had rare stability, as Pittsburgh's franchise is, rarely stable in the sports world overall. But there aren't many of the Colbert holdovers left. It's a pretty new group, and so that's exciting, but it is different.
All right. Anything to wrap up from Andy Weidl?
Nope, I think that's it. Where to now?
How about anything Arthur Smith said on the Pat McAfee show?
I think that was during camp, so I read some of the articles and comments back on it. I don't know if there was one thing that stuck out to me in a hugely significant way. Maybe you can weigh in. I'm going to jog my memory on what all he said on that episode.
I think he didn't really say a lot, obviously, but excited about getting everybody involved in the offense like they did in Tennessee. That would be.
I was going to ask you, what do you think I made a note of one quote he said, and I don't know how to interpret it. I want to get your take. He said, quote, "We have things we'll do now that I've done in my past, not even as an OC, but as a tight ends coach," which he was in Tennessee. What do you think that means? What does it mean? Something about the tight ends or the offensive line. I don't have the full context.
Well, didn't he mention something about how they use Delaney Walker and how Pat Freiermuth can kind of be a Delaney Walker player in that offense?
Yeah, I think so. And that's a good comp. I think Walker was more athletic overall, a little more receiver-like, but I think Freiermuth is going to stand up a ton this year. He's going to be he's going to have his hand down some, obviously, but he's going to be on his feet quite a bit. And
look, you want him to have free releases like that, right? Because, there are obviously going to be instances where he's attached, but you did not draft Pat Freiermuth for a Heath Miller role, where he's mostly attached to the line of scrimmage. That's not a strength of his. Now he can block out in space. That's if if you want to talk about strengths and blocking and Pat Freiermuth, it's when he is out in space. Big body. We've seen him send defensive backs up into the third row before, right? Escort them out to the parking lot. I think what was it? The first was it
Buffalo
a preseason? Yeah, Buffalo, right?
Yeah, week one of the regular season, right. Took that corner into the benches.
Right. So even though you're likely to see a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end groupings in this offense, it doesn't mean he has to be attached. And, that's basically, both of our takeaways since the day Arthur Smith was hired within that. So, yeah, and I think rolling that back to the Arthur Smith comment, I think that's how you can marry our analysis and what maybe that quote was getting at. Okay. There is at least, in my opinion here, is that you will see Pat Freiermuth move around and stand up and be detached.
That makes sense. And I agree, 13 personnel, 12 personnel, it can be tight, it can be condensed, and you certainly will see that, but it doesn't have to be. They run a ton of 13 personnel with everyone spread out. They run 12 personnel with both tight ends in the slot left, number 2, number 3 receiver standing up. So you can do a lot of mixing and matching. And I've always been a fan of, you can get some, I think the ideal offense, just opining here, is if you get these big athletic tight ends that can be great receivers, and you go 12 personnel, you keep defenses in base, you force linebackers to walk out.
What the Patriots used to do to you.
Yeah, with their duo. If you can do that, then you limit coverages because you can't really run as many exotic coverages when you got linebackers out there trying to cover. Obviously we've seen Pittsburgh really struggle against heavy empty in the past. Cleveland has always given them fits on that, for example. So I think that is kind of like the ideal offense when you can go 12 personnel, athletic tight ends. You can go in tight and block and be heavy. You can spread those guys out. That is, I think, a really great way. And Pittsburgh may not be completely there in having like uber athletic tight ends, but they're a team that's deep at tight end that has different skill sets and talents. I think they're going to utilize that all season long.
And look, just because you roll out a 12 personnel package and the initial play call is maybe a run, if you get the right look against the right defensive personnel, you've got a veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson to see that, what is the autonomy at the line of scrimmage, right?
Yeah. Great point.
You've got to trust these quarterbacks to see it, and you've got to have a couple of plays within there to change, because you can't just go in there and say, roll the 12 personnel out there and let's run mid-zone, You've got to be able to look and get the mismatch and then be able to and look, what a joy it is going to be under center and some pistol and all like that, play action and all like that. And here's the biggest takeaway overall, especially when you want to roll this back to Pat Freiermuth here. If you do get in those situations where you have big personnel on the other side, you get the matchup with Pat Freiermuth that you want. Those are the matchups that are going to be crucial for this offense to win.
Yeah, I think
in the passing game.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Dave. So I'm excited to see how this will look, and obviously the results will have to be the results, and we can be excited about Smith now, but the resume will be the story, and if they don't produce, then that's going to be all that really matters. But I'm excited about the direction. I think this offense, I wrote in my camp awards, which we'll talk about here in a second. It's not the headline news to really be like, oh my God, they're a competent offense, but this offense finally looks competent. And I think I'm confident in saying you'll get that. Hopefully you get more. I can't guarantee that or be highly confident in that, not having the crystal ball, but this offense feels organized and competent, 2 things that have been lacking for several seasons.
And I think as late last week or most recent regular Steelers media session, Arthur Smith talked about Connor Hayward. Connor is another guy, unique football player, guy that played a different spot in college, very good spatial player. How about some spatialness? Is that a word? How about some spatialness in 2024 for this offense? He's a good teamer and a tough football player. It's been fun moving Connor around.
And he's one of those pieces that almost feels like a little, Smith mentioned Delaney Walker, Hayward, a little, JuJu Smith-like. Hayward's a little bit smaller than JuJu Smith, but a guy that can wear a lot of hats and is kind of H-back-like. And He's played fullback. He's split out. I mean, he's played everywhere this year. Connor Hayward has, and knowing he's not going to be that attached wide tight end, you got to get creative with him, and I think he can be. I think they have.
All right. Anything else from Arthur Smith these last couple of days?
Not directly for Arthur Smith, but George Pickens made an interesting comment that he thinks just even the vertical game with Smith is better schematically. He says, quote, "You guys remember all last year I was only running go, so I was running deep balls last year too, but scheme-wise, I feel like it's a way better scheme vertically." I'm not entirely sure what Pickens means by that. I'd have to maybe think about and look back on some of that stuff, but I think maybe that just means in terms of getting freer releases and being able to run not just literal straight verticals, but maybe some slot fades, maybe some posts, maybe some seam stuff where you can be vertical in different ways.
And let's not forget the slants. We need to see some more George Pickens slants. Put the ball, look, if we learned one thing in the limited playing time, not that we didn't already know it, but if there was one huge takeaway in the limited playing time for George Pickens in that first preseason game against the Houston Texans, is if you get the football to him out in space, even in short situations, he can get you some yak after the catch.
Yeah, I think that's his biggest improvement since entering the league is his yak. And part of that just from being more comfortable and running a fuller route tree and being more position flexible and be able to play in the slot and line up with different alignments and not just as the outside guy, running the comebacks and the verticals with the side adjustments. But yeah, I think he's shown even in the preseason game, I was really impressed by his yak ability against Houston.
All right.
I think it covers those conferences and interviews pretty well. And any takeaways from the joint practice? Obviously, we weren't there. It was close to the public, so we're just kind of going off of some media reports. Mentioned that Nate Herbig did not practice. Also, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, given the day off, they did not participate. Any takeaways from what we've heard, at least from the joint practice?
Yeah, it's hard to comment on something you did not see, right? Sound like did okay in 7 shots, right?
Yeah, sounded like 7 shots was good. Sounds like 2 minute went well. I think the offense scored and the defense held former Steelers quarterback Mitch Trubisky from putting the ball in the end zone. So situational football is something Pittsburgh really emphasizes throughout all of training camp. It's why they do 7 shots. It's why they do third down periods and 2-minute drills, which they do repeatedly throughout training camp. Goal line. Training camp for Pittsburgh is in many ways focusing on situational football that defines whether or not you win or lose games.
All right. Didn't seem like there were any injuries to come out of that, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty. I mean, I
on
can't
the
imagine
Steelers side.
Right. I can't imagine they were tackling in this one. I think they were in pads, I'm pretty sure, but they weren't actually, full contact. That'd be pretty crazy to do with an opponent 2 days before a game. I know Buffalo lost their linebacker, Matt Milano, not in the practice, but the day before. That
poor guy. That guy can't stay healthy, can he?
Yeah.
Good football player, too.
Really good football player, one of the better off-ball linebackers in the NFL. So unfortunate there. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh, again, knock on wood, entering this game, all things considered, pretty good place health-wise.
What do you know about Dante Jackson right now and his health? And should he be on my sheet pregame in the injury column?
I mean, he's dealing with something. So yes, on the injury column, I don't know his status. It looks minor. He was doing some jogging with DeMarvin Leal during that last Wednesday practice. He's walked around fine. There's no visible sign of injury. So I assume it's minor. I can't tell if he's going to play in this one. It's probably a coin flip. But even if he doesn't, I wouldn't be alarmed by that. He's going to be good for week 1.
All right. Okay. Shall we get to da-da-da-da?
Well, before we do that, yeah, I should have mentioned this for the Wednesday show. I don't want to spend much time on it. We talked about it a little before, earlier in the offseason, but JuJu Smith-Schuster was officially released by the Patriots a couple days ago. And I just want to ask you, do you have interest in potentially adding JuJu Smith-Schuster? Let's say Pittsburgh would have missed out on Ayuk, he resigns in San Francisco. Would you have any interest in pivoting in a JuJu reunion?
You know my thoughts on anybody on a veteran benefit contract. If you want to take a look at a guy, take a look at a guy. It can't hurt you. At least he knows the culture and all like that. In my head, does it move the needle much? I mean, other than maybe the physicality portion of JuJu and some blocking and third and short type situations and potential to get an extra 1.5 to 2 yards after the catch in dire situations. I think that's where he's at right now. But this guy, where's the time gone, man? That guy's 30. How old is he now?
No, he's 27, I think.
JuJu is?
Yeah, JuJu. I'm pretty sure JuJu is still. Am I wrong on that?
I guess he's still
he's
27.
27 because he came out. He wasn't even 21 when he got drafted. It's great. Like it feels like he's 30. He's been in the league since 2017.
Feels like forever since we saw that draft day video, and all. But look, I think it's obvious that he's had some knee issues over the years, and the fact that the Patriots were that early in the offseason willing to part ways with him and taking he had a guaranteed salary as well too. Now it's subject to offsets, but at this point right now, JuJu's a veteran benefit contract player, if you ask me. So, short answer is, if you want to look at him on a veteran benefit contract, have at it. But other than that, it doesn't move the needle much in my head.
I think the thing that's 30 plus years old with JuJu are his knees. And that's the problem. And that's been a recurring issue. Even his last year or two in Pittsburgh was a lot of rumors and talk and some injury report listings of him missing practice with knee problems. And you think he's had a surgery or two, and that was an issue. It just followed him throughout. He was constantly managing his knees. And it's why he went from being an explosive big play guy with a pair of 97-yard touchdowns his first 2 years in the NFL to being underneath possession receiver JuJu. And I just want to have interest in that. It's not going to give you the big playability, the outside vertical threat that you're looking for right now. You have Van Jefferson, which I think can do all the things you'd ask JuJu to do in terms of blocking, in terms of playing in the slot, making tough catches. But Jefferson is more athletic and more springy and a better receiver right now than JuJu, and it's already in your building. So I just don't have any interest, even on a veteran benefit contract. I just don't see how it's really going to help you in any meaningful way in terms of making this offense better. You can do anything JuJu can do with Pat Freiermuth and Van Jefferson and do it better.
I don't know why I thought he was 30. Maybe I saw something on Twitter that was misreported there. If I would have told you August 16th, 2024, Martavis Bryant is on an NFL roster, while JuJu Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool are both not on an NFL roster, you would have had me committed. Not that you probably already wouldn't have me committed, but how the turntables.
Are you a medium in a straitjacket? Just so I have a file on that.
Yeah, look,
medium, large,
whatever fits the worst.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Claypool was released from IR. He had a toe injury and did not practice for like the last 2 weeks with Buffalo. So Claypool was supposed to be part of the joint practice and didn't end up making it there. He's now a free agent. And frankly, I don't know who's going to sign him next. I know Saskatchewan holds his negotiating rights in the CFL. He may have to go play up north of the border as his next NFL stop.
Okay, eh?
All right, Dave, I guess I interrupted your trumpets and horns for, I assume, there you go. The Depot Awards. We need a good name for my training camp award. Somebody said the Alexes, but that doesn't sound like the Tonys. It doesn't sound very good. So
the Kozoras.
Yeah, just the Kozoras doesn't sound great either. So I don't know what you want to call it, but my 2024 Steelers Depot Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp Awards. I got a ton of them. I don't know if I'm going to read off every single one here, but the most notable ones, like the biggest winner, best camp award I gave to, and this is all just in a vacuum based off a training camp. It's no disclaimer, no guarantee of regular season success or any beliefs about how the season will go for a player. But Van Jefferson got my best camp award for the separation he gained as a clear number 2 receiver, an excellent camp overall, solid, consistent. Wasn't as gaudy as, say, a George Pickens, but in terms of what he did for himself for a role in this offense, even with the Ayuk trade looming, it was a really good camp for Jefferson. And he went from a guy to me that was purely bubble player to a roster lock, even if they make a trade for Ayuk.
Yeah, look, guy that you had a preconception on of what you were getting ahead of camp, who went well and beyond that. And obviously I did not see a single camp practice, but reading your reports and the clips that I saw, and obviously the first preseason game now in the books, I think especially, on the contract that they got him on, right? I mean, I think you got yourself a bargain here.
Other honorable mentions, just to rattle them off, Justin Fields, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, Spencer Anderson, Montravius Adams, Patrick Queen, and Dante Jackson. So all good camps from the names I just mentioned there. biggest disappointment, and this one's always tough because you always, I think, at least I skew positive and optimistic during training camp, and no one had like a terrible camp in terms of some guy that you expected to do well that really disappointed. That didn't happen this year, but I went Calvin Austin the third, and he did pick it up. The last couple of days have been better to his credit, and he made a couple plays in game, but just was not super involved in the offense in the team period. I think he, through like 13 practices, had 8 catches. And again, those things picked up late in camp, but just was not getting the usage despite being a number 3 receiver and seeing a lot of snaps, and some missed opportunities in terms of not being able to finish plays, which has always been his issue in terms of making contested catches. He's fast. He can beat guys one-on-one, but can you make the tough grab over the middle or in a contested situation? I just have not seen that consistently. I thought Scotty Miller had the better camp overall than Calvin. I think he's the better receiver, better player right now than what Calvin Austin is bringing to the table. And, Austin had a really good summer last year, did not do that this year. And I just was hoping for more from him.
Is it at all plausible that he's not on this week 1 53-man roster via either being cut or traded?
I think there's a case to be made for that. I still expect him to be on the 53.
Would you keep Scotty Miller from what you know right now? Let's assume Brandon Ayuk does not come over.
Mm-hmm.
And you're only keeping, let's say you only can keep 5 wide receivers total. And I'm deferring to you. I mean, you've watched all these practices, and you know a lot. I mean, we both obviously know a lot about Calvin Austin to this point. How tempted would you be to keep a Scotty Miller over a Calvin Austin III?
I don't know if it would come down to a roster spot for me, but if you're asking my personal opinion, who would I rather be playing and using? Who's the better player? To me, it's Scotty Miller. What does Calvin Austin do better than Scotty Miller right now? It's the question I go back to.
I mean, although we haven't seen it a lot, I mean, probably Yak.
But have we seen that from Austin? I mean, that's
what I'm saying. We haven't. We obviously saw it at Memphis, right?
Right, but we're in year 3 in the NFL. And I know he missed his rookie year, and maybe Austin's a little bit shiftier, but the evidence really isn't there. I think Miller's got better hands. He's a better route runner. He's got a more proven NFL resume. Maybe Austin is a better punt returner. He's done it more than Miller, but I think Miller can do punts as well.
Obviously, the probability of Austin being on this 53-man roster is high, right?
Yeah, he was on my last 53 edition.
Right. I mean, what would you put it at? How close to 100% would you put it?
I'm bad at guessing at some of these numbers sometimes, get myself into trouble. It's still probably 90%, but right. I think you could question, what his role, what his value is. If he's even the number, because once Roman Wilson gets healthy, and he's probably close to it and kind of gets up to speed, he should be ahead of Calvin Austin. And even putting aside a trade for a receiver, if you have Pickens and Jefferson and Roman Wilson, plus the tight ends, plus the backs, plus the heavy, just run game in general, I mean, how much work offensively will Austin really be getting?
Yeah. I mean,
not much.
We've discussed it. I mean, he's not someone you're going to roll out there for 50 plays.
Right. So we'll keep watching, and hopefully he continues his ascending play. He caught a couple of those deep balls late in camp, and so he did have a stronger end. I do want to give him his credit there and mention this Wednesday show. Great guy, hard worker, blocker, like buying in 100%. So I'm not knocking that. They always talk him up personally. But it's interesting whenever I hear the team, Smith or Zani, talk up Austin, a lot of it's the intangible. A lot of it's he's a great leader. He's a really hard worker. He's really coachable. I don't hear as much about his actual traits as a receiver as I do other guys.
Know what's going to happen now on Saturday, right?
He's going to have a great game. He's going to go like 200 yards. Yeah,
he's going to go three for $120 and 2 touchdowns.
All right, and I like Calvin Austin. I want him to succeed. I mean, I love the story, and he's maintained his speed from his foot injury from his rookie year, and he's a big play threat, and he ran behind guys, and I get all that. I just was hoping for more production from Austin with the camp to really be in a year where he's past the injury fully, past his rehab and recovery. Not really felt like a rookie anymore, with better quarterback play, better coordinator situation. I just, the numbers didn't lie to me, and that's what I went down to.
What do you think about him in the slot? Because we didn't get to see a lot of that at Memphis, right?
No, he was primarily an outside guy. I know he gets the profile as an inside guy, but he really was an outside guy at Memphis. I mean, to me, the slot, you got to do a lot of those contested catches. That, to
What
me,
do
is
you
his
think
number
about
one
him on
issue.
the slot fade?
I mean, I guess, yeah, they threw a bunch of those early in training camp. He had mixed success on it, but some of those slot fades kind of come down to tracking and being able to kind of make those tough catches with somebody on you. And that is not his game. His game, to me, is really being able to run by people downfield, outside, vertically.
Okay.
That's where I come in on that. All right, let's see other awards here. You mentioned best play. I think we talked about that one of the special edition episodes. My best play went to not a 11-on-11 situation, but a 1-on-1, the backs on backers rep that Jaylen Warren had against Landon Roberts, that Friday Night Lights, where Roberts ran through him the first time they go again, and Warren just had one of the best reps you'll ever see, just anchoring against Roberts' bull rush and just driving Roberts into the pile of offensive players behind him, led to a big scrum after. It was just a great environment, great moment. And Warren, for my money, the decade I've been covering training camp, is the best running back, best offensive player, and backs on backers I've ever seen.
All right, talk about your breakout player award winner, and talk about and we did this in the special edition episode, but for those that didn't hear it, your camp darling.
Breakout player, Nick Herbig, to me. I mean, he's number 3 this year, an ascending player, really fun arsenal of pass rush moves, and has added the inside spin. He's going to burn some poor right tackle. Who's the Falcons' right tackle? Is that McGarry? Who's
I don't know, but he keeps feeding us healthy doses of crow, don't he?
Nick, yeah, Herbig, yeah, he does for sure. For me thinking he was an inside guy, shame on me for that. But he's going to burn whatever right tackle on an inside spin, and he's still probably working on refining that a little bit. I know he flashed it in that Houston game, but he should be a guy that, snaps will still be a bit limited, but more than last year, clear number 3, and you're hoping for a really solid year for Nick Herbig. Camp darling.
Caleb McGarry.
Yeah, okay, it was Caleb McGarry. And so watch out for the inside spin on McGarry. I mean, Herbig can play either side, but I think you've talked about a little more comfortable, I think, on that left outside linebacker spot than he is the right outside linebacker spot.
The good news is he can play both, and he's done. Mm-hmm. We've seen him be effective on both sides last season.
Yeah, he will play both and rotate in behind Watt and Highsmith. And then Camp Darling, Thomas Graham Jr., the corner. I don't know if there was maybe the truest Camp Darling this year compared to some other past years where we had some super obvious choice and example. But he's a guy that went from reserve corner, no one talked about, felt like he was buried on the depth chart and made plays, had 2 interceptions, a breakup that led to a third. He's versatile. I do wonder about special teams value. Does he offer enough there? Still watching, still learning, but he's someone that is a playmaker on the football. If you can make plays on the football in the secondary and tackle decently and be assignment sound, I think Graham is all those things. You're going to stick to some capacity for at least a little while.
All right, and your biggest takeaway of the 2024 Steelers training camp is?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the offense looks competent, which I know is not the sexy headline to run with. I don't want to overstate what this offense can be. I think we all did that last year, myself included, and were burned by it once the regular season started. But the offense seems competent and organized, and that's at least a good floor to start with. And hopefully they can be better. If they want to win a Super Bowl, they have to be better than just competent. But I do feel a level of just, okay, Pittsburgh is at least on an even playing field with the other 31 teams in terms of how their offense is built, and hopefully their talent and can build upon that and win out from there.
Can they score more points?
They can. Question is, how many more points can they score? And that remains to be seen. I think they can at least be an average scoring offense, which you're not hanging the banner for. You want to be better than that, but I think that is certainly a minimum and reasonable expectation, and I'm confident in saying they can at least be average, which in Pittsburgh will feel like a pretty good feeling they have not had in quite some time.
How many total true jet sweeps did you see during camp?
1. And that's it. So I wrote, that was a very popular article today. I wrote that Arthur Smith is banishing the jet sweep. And the one they ran, unfortunately, was the play that Roman Wilson got injured on in 7 shots, the first padded practice of training camp. They did run a couple of end arounds later in training camp, one to Pickens for a touchdown, one to Patterson, who aligned as a slot receiver to the right. They'd end around to Quez Watkins as well. So you saw that a little bit later in training camp. But by and large, the receivers ran routes, the running backs carried the football, and that'll be a departure from the Matt Canada system.
All right, limited exposure. Any other awards you want to get to here real quick? I think.
Mr. Versatile went to John Rice Plumlee for doing a bunch of stuff, and credit to him for the can-do attitude. Most consistent, Landon Roberts. What else do we have here? Top coach Zach Azzani just worked his tail off. I'm really happy with that hire. I think he's the right man for the job. Not even just with the receivers, but during special teams periods. I mean, to give Danny Smith help, considering that Smith is the only coach in title in Pittsburgh to have a special teams label. Pittsburgh's the only team to have one coach with just a special teams title and nobody else. Azzani, to me, I mean, it was easier because he was the closest to the fans and to the bleachers, so you could kind of see and hear him work more. But Azzani, I think, did a really good job, and those guys were put to work this year.
All right. Limited exposure to him in camp because of being in the NFI, but what are your quick takeaways on Cordell Patterson?
He looked spry and, good to go once he started practicing. I was curious he didn't get work in the kick return sessions. I assume he'll be doing that here in the Bills game, and I'm excited to see that. But he just, despite missing all that time, he looked ready to go, and they moved him around. He was not just a running back. He split out a decent amount too. So he's somebody that, obviously won't see a ton of offensive time, but someone that they might move around a bit in this offense.
All right. Good job on that, Alex. I know that that got some reads, and I know it's time consuming to put together. Good job on that one.
Thank you. All right, Dave, let's talk about this Bills game. We've already kind of mentioned some of the aspects, what to watch for with Wilson and Fields and how much the starters will play. But offensively, what else are you hoping to see from this Bills game?
Yeah, I want to see Broderick Jones have a better showing this time out for sure. I think that's one aspect. Interested to watch what they do with Spencer Anderson. We've seen him have a nice showing at guard. I think your takeaway is we should see him at some tackle on Saturday night. So I will be diligently going through the tape to see how that goes with him. Offensive wise, other than that, I
just want to see the offense play clean. First of all, just be fundamentally sound. Clean. I mean, just for the entire team, offense, defense, and special teams, way too sloppy. So that's like just a very baseline thing, but a box that they have to check this game.
All right, defense. I want to see that Queen Roberts pairing out there.
Me too. I thought if I didn't pick Van Jefferson for my best camp award, it probably would have gone to Patrick Queen. And I mean, no one really talked about it because Peyton Olsen got all the buzz, understandably so, as like the new rookie. But Queen was just, this dude just flew sideline to sideline. He was so fun to watch close out in space.
Dean Lowry should get some snaps in this game. Interested to hopefully get some snaps in this game. Interested to evaluate his first effort in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. That's another thing looking for. Obviously, Benton, hopefully back from that eye injury, should play a larger amount of snaps, I would think. Just, I think we all know what to expect from him. Just want to see more of it with him. Second time under the lights for Peyton Wilson, I think would be on everybody's list. Beanie Bishop Jr., second time underneath the lights. Obviously, no Grayland Arnold. So we talked about Thomas Graham Jr. getting out there. And these backup outside corners have been a conversation ongoing throughout this thing. The Corey Trice, the Darius Rush. Going to pay a lot of attention to the snaps on special teams at the gunner position. Somebody stand up. A couple of guys need to stand up and make it easy for us to say that's the guy. It's been easy the last couple of years, has it not? The Miles Boykins and the James Pierres, it was easy to go ahead and slot those guys in. It's tougher right now. Get a guy like Des Fitzpatrick, show us to be that guy. What else? Defensive side of football.
The fourth outside linebacker spot. Special teams too. Moon and Kyron Johnson.
Moon Kyron. Yeah. One, 2 dogs, 1 bone.
Yeah, it truly, potentially could keep 5 at outside linebacker, but more likely 4. And that becomes the 2 dogs, 1 bone situation there for those guys. So yeah, that's a real good battle. Even, Joey Porter Jr., who didn't have a bad camp. We barely talked about him.
Right.
It was just inoffensive camp. Yeah, but he's a second-year guy, first-year starter. And so does he see some Keon Coleman in this game? The Bills, rookie who's got size. That's big on big. That's a 6'3" guy against the whatever Porter is 6'1" corner. So I want to see a little bit more Porter in this one as well.
I'd like to see Logan Lee not have to play nose tackle in this one.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Should accomplish that because Benton should play and Adams will play, and they sign Marquise Spencer, who can get third team nose tackle work late in this one. So yeah, I think Lee will get chances to play some more end, and yeah, Dean Lowry will play in this one too. He practiced enough to play against Buffalo.
All right. Who else in that defense? We're looking
Ryan Watts. I want to see Ryan Watts. I know Austin said a little, had the right spirit, but didn't quite know what he was doing. His first outing was kind of the gist of what Terrell Austin said, but I thought he tackled well. I think he's been vocal. I think he's physical. So you want to see those guys in that second game. Okay, you kind of got your feet wet. You're inside a stadium. You kind of lower expectations first time out. Though there's going to be some mistakes. Let's not make those mistakes twice, and let's show progression in that second game.
Leal going to suit up for this one?
I don't know. That is, to me, a true coin flip. I hope so. He needs to, but he missed the last 3 days. I mean, it was minor. I think it was upper body. He was, like I said on one of the podcasts, he was dancing. He was happy out there. I really have no idea if he'll suit up.
I think so. I think I saw people saying he was dressed and doing something in that scrimmage. So hopefully that was a good sign because, yeah, he needs to be out there for sure. Watching him and Loudermilk in this game.
I hate not being at camp and to report that because, doing something. He was in stretch line on Wednesday. So is that something that he was doing? Was he doing individual work? I don't know. I didn't see that. So I hope, but I do not know.
All right. Did we miss anything?
Anything else offensively? Any other position battles with tight end? Pruitt and Hot Rod? Another battle there.
Yeah.
Dylan Cook. I want to see more from Dylan Cook. I put him on my honorable mention, quote unquote, for the disappointment list. He didn't have a bad camp, but I thought I would be a little more excited about where Dylan Cook was at after his second camp in Pittsburgh. So I think him and Anderson are battling as well.
I agree.
All right, Dave, anything else here? I think we can cover special teams. Let's have a good snap. Christian Kuntz, he did take responsibility on his podcast, and you credit him for that, for a bad snap in that one. So let's keep it clean on special teams. The net yardage for the punt team has to be much better. They had terrible net in that Houston game, and the coverage team was pretty poor overall. No penalties. Again, just play clean on teams as well. All right, Dave. I think we covered things pretty well. Anything else you want to get to, or we can get to some reader emails and close out today's show?
All right, let's see if we can drill them down here real quick. Should have already had it done. Let's start with Todd Bays writes in, kickoff rule. Good day, fellas, and special shout out to Alex for all the training camp work he does. Really enjoy the insight he brings. Was listening to Jim and Pat on Moving the Chains on Sirius yesterday, and they had a interesting conversation about the kickoff rule. Do you think special teams coaches are spending too much time on it? He says, I know small sample size, but they cited through first week of preseason, the average starting field position on a return was 28-yard line. If that holds around that point, why not just kick it out of the end zone and give them the ball at the 30? Why risk a big return potential for only a 2-yard difference? They discussed the NFL may make the touchback position the 35 in an effort to get more actual returns down the line. Any thoughts on these points? Look, Todd, I wish I could give you a brilliant response here. All I got to say, we're still learning about this thing as well too. And they probably make a good point. If the average field position on a return was 28, and you can just give them the ball at the 30 without risking anything, it's a good argument, right?
Yeah, I understand that aspect, but it's still early. It's still a small sample size. And I think teams are still feeling things out. When you have this kind of drastic change, you need to focus on it to just make sure you're not hurting yourself, not even focusing on getting big plays, but making sure you're not penalizing yourself with, the new rules. And there were many new aspects to the rules this year. And so that has to be detailed and coached up and harped upon. So you're not, God forbid you have a penalty and that dramatically changes the game because you didn't, know about some aspect of the rules. And then,
the rules are important. You don't need some bonehead thing coming up where, you touch back
safety in that.
Yeah, safety or something like that where you say, those things. So the short answer is, yeah, you should be spending time on this new kickoff, at least in this inaugural season of it.
Right. And what if you can, because right now I think every team is just kind of just trying to get the basics down, like not being super creative. They're just trying to like, okay, let's get the foundations of how this whole thing works and kind of how it looks first time out. But what if you can be the team that becomes really creative and find that winning strategy to have the most successful kick return team in football? Yes, it may end up where teams just start booting the ball out of the end zone, but even if you can make one or two big returns before teams respond to that, and that can be the difference between winning a game and altering your season. So what if you can be the team that has the smartest, most brilliant strategy in your kick return game in the NFL? That could give you an edge that may win you one game. And one game in the NFL is huge in a 17-game season. So I've made the point, and I get it, that I don't think the numbers are going to be dramatically different than years past. I think the number of kick returns will be up. I think the averages will be about the same. I think the kick return touchdowns will be up a little bit, but not dramatically up. I think when the rule got changed, people thought, oh my God, the kick returns are going to be insane. There's going to be 10 touchdowns. It's going to be insane. And just like this crazy change. I don't think that's going to happen. It didn't happen in the was the XFL. The numbers were pretty similar. The Europe League, the numbers were pretty similar when they changed things. But, if you can just have a different strategy to find that slight edge, the NFL is all about that 1% edge. Can you just do that one small thing better than the other team? And if you can do that, you can win a game.
Let's get one from Jeff Berg here, regular contributor who lives in time I spent 2 years in Savannah, Georgia. Howdy, fellas. I noticed Joey Porter was wearing bright gold yellow gloves in the first preseason game, and he got called for a penalty in that game. I was certain he would figure it out, wear gloves that matched the color of the opponent, but so far, no dice. Are y'all surprised? Also, he says, great tape breakdown video on Frazier, Alex. I agree. Look, we'll just have to, we'll have to see about the gloves moving forward here.
I think it matters. We talked about that last year. I think even Patrick Peterson has discussed it. I think this question was on asked and answered from Bob Labriola, and I think Bob was kind of like, just play good technique. And I get that you want to play good technique, but the glove color matters. I think you want to match up on what the opponent has. Anything you can do to help reduce the odds of penalties for a guy like Porter that's going to be hands-on and play to his strengths. Anything you can do to have that edge. Again, that 1% edge matters.
Right. I agree there. Good hearing from you, Jeff Berg. Nicholas Gooden. Did either of you guys watch any Kenny Pickett Thursday night against the Patriots? Any thoughts? Where to see him wear number 7, if I might say? There's a love-hate relationship on our site with Kenny Pickett. People says don't write about Kenny Pickett, but they read everything we write about Kenny Pickett. As far as Kenny Pickett in that game, I watched a little bit of it. I'm not going to lie. I like all football. It didn't look enthralling, his performance. I think he was sacked 4 times. I think his average depth of target wasn't all that great. He completed a high percentage of passes, but mostly short. I think there's a stat out there that only 4 of his passes flew more than 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, and I don't think he completed any of those. Look, I'm not going to pull. I don't think I'm going to pull the all 22 on that, but it is what it was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch it. I saw some of the clips. I know that he was under pressure a ton, and so maybe that's more O-line. I know Nick Sirianni kind of downplayed his performance in terms of it being negative and said he was under pressure and thought he did some good things, but that third stringer Tanner McKee did well, and so I don't know. It didn't look good overall for Pickett. I kind of felt like classic Pickett, very conservative with the football, but not making a lot of plays. That's kind of been the story on him. So we'll see if he keeps that backup job or if he loses the number 2 spot.
All right. One last one from Garrett Humbertson. Trying to make sense of the unexpected behavior by various players involved. 1, Khan not picking up Najee's 5th-year option. 2, no extensions yet for Muth or Cam. 3, no hold-ins or holdouts. He says, I have a theory for Dave, but need his expertise. First of all, could we have misinterpreted Najee's comment about why his 5th-year option was not picked up in his pre-camp interview? He was told by Omar Khan when they chose not to pick up the option, they didn't know where the offense was headed. He says, I initially balked at what I considered a non-explanation because it seems that Najee's fit in Arthur Smith's scheme and identity Pittsburgh wants to have. However, could Omar Khan's comment have been more about other players and contracts that might be added to the roster. In other words, was Khan actually saying that he needed flexibility this offseason for adding a player like Ayuk? He says, remember in his July 25th press conference, Khan said things like, we think the world of Najee. An extension can still happen down the road. There's different layers to the decision, but right now we said let's hold off. Number two, from the financial side of it, would the Steelers have to wait to extend Najee, Muth, or Cam until after the Ayuk trade? That would explain why these deals never happened yet. Three, if yes, could this always be why there's been no hold-ins, because the aforementioned players know there are potential deals on the table? It's just a waiting game until the whole Ayuk situation resolves, ? All right, tackle some of that, then I'll jump in.
No, I think you can address it better than I can. It's all wait and see, I guess. I mean, we'll get our answer in terms of what happens this year by September 8th or September 7th. I think it's the day before the opener against Atlanta. So I think you had some comments about this in our group chat last night. You can kind of address. I think some of that is valid about some of the holding patterns for Freiermuth as this Ayuk situation kind of hangs in the balance. But jump in here, Dave.
First and foremost, and we've talked about this a little bit. The reason the extensions I don't think have happened yet is because, the cap space they have right now, and because I think they are indeed waiting for some sort of outcome when it comes to Brandon Ayuk. So that would make sense. Remember, this team has a little over $15 million in salary cap space right now. And that's just a hair more than enough to accommodate the Ayuk contract before signing him to an extension. So it really does all line up, because look, if you extend Freiermuth, and I know people don't think it's going to happen, but even Najee Harris, the result of that is both their cap charges in 2024 going up. All right. So then that would put you, not having enough space to initially afford Ayuk. So I do buy the idea that they're waiting to get some finality on this Ayuk thing before. And look, they can rattle right through these extensions in a matter of days. I mean, this could even get to the final week of the past the five. Isn't there that dead week in the after the preseason, but before the regular season starts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where the old fourth preseason game was at kind of the last couple of days of August, first weekend of September is a dead zone.
All right, let me roll through this real quick. Yes, it would make sense to wait on these extensions until they get some finality on the Ayuk trade. I think that's clear and cut. No hold-ins because aforementioned players know there are potential deals on the table. Look, I just think they've got guys that are willing to trust the process here. Maybe Najee, Cam, and Freiermuth know these things are sitting there ready to go. But in the same breath, they're not done until they're done. Mm-hmm. And players can get injured and all like that too, right? So sure. There might be a little bit of truth on both sides of that statement or question, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I guess it just kind of wait and see if they trade for Ayuk, or even if Ayuk re-ups in San Francisco and then the Freiermuth extension is announced like 12 hours later, then that's probably what happened.
All right. What do you buy about the him balking at the Najee? They don't know where the offense was headed.
I mean, I've never really bought that line since it was reported right after they declined the option in May. Yeah, could it be? I think we talked about, could this be because they want to see if Jaylen Warren can be the top back, or who's a better fit? I don't know. I'm still of the belief that Najee Harris will not get extended this year, and he'll be playing elsewhere in 2025. I know you're more open to it. You wrote a great article yesterday about kind of a football justice, like with the camp that Harris had. Pittsburgh should reward him with that extension, and he deserves it from what he's done so far. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. You know where I stand on it. I'm not guaranteeing it happens, no, by any stretch of the imagination. But here's something to end the show with here. This team right now, as far as speculatory cash spending goes, which is kind of hard to do because you're trying to create a 53-man roster on paper, along with the cash spent to say undrafted guys and their bonuses that might not make this roster, and then you add in the practice squad and all like that. So it's a super, 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 super rough amount. But I've got this team right around $208 million in cash spend for 2024. I have long said, they check the blog, check the podcast, that I expect this team to spend at least $235 million in cash on the books prior to week 1. That's $27 million. $27 million. My Dr. Evil.
I got
$27 million, in my opinion, that I really like the chances of being spent. Now, if we get to week 1, I will give you a recap and say, oh boy, they didn't come anywhere close to this. Now, obviously, if you trade for a guy like Brandon Ayuk and you sign him to a new deal and you give him a huge signing bonus, you're gonna knock out about probably $28 to $30 million in cash right there, right? So that more than covers it. I estimate that if you were to give Freiermuth and Najee both extensions, that the new cash on top of the cash that are already set to spend would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 21, 22, 23 million right there. Okay. An extension for Cam Hayward, I'm not expecting to increase his cash spending from what it is right now, which is 16 million overall. Things are going to happen still with a little more than 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. Trust me on that. The volume of those things, obviously, yet to be determined. You got this whole Ayuk thing sitting out there. At the very least, Pat Freiermuth's contract is going to get extended, I feel. I think you're going to see something with Cam Hayward. Alex has been the major one here, and I agree with him that you could see an outside corner still come in at this point. How expensive would that be? I wouldn't think it'd be overly expensive. But on the flip side, too, the natural process of elimination when getting this roster down to 53 active players or whatever, injured reserve and PUP and all like that. Everybody right now, the top 51 earners right now on the Steelers roster are probably all not going to make the roster, right?
Sure.
So that means some of those guys are going to fall off. We've already talked about Nicole Holcomb decreasing the contract, at least initially when he goes on PUP. There's going to be some cash savings there. There's going to be more than likely net cash savings in roster manipulation, as outside of not accounting for whatever happens with Ayuk. Okay, there's just the natural attrition of the roster is probably going to produce some cash savings as well. Long story short, that they're not done, right? You would agree with that. We're going to see some news on this with this team with some cash being spent.
Yes. They're going to do something. Freiermuth, you assume will happen. Outsiders will come in. We'll see about Ayuk. Things will happen. Yes. All
right. So that's where we're at. But I mean, I think the main takeaway and the point of emphasis, to go back to Garrett's email here, is my takeaway is that it is a fair assumption that we have not seen any contract extensions done to this point, because them being in a hold pattern with this whole Ayuk thing.
Sorry, there was just the Steelers update here, but it was just about parking. Yeah, I think that's fair all the way around.
All right. I believe we've got through all the emails here. Good emails this week, guys. Good emails.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap things up and come back, I guess, for the Monday show and recap the Bills game.
All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow. Wait. There's more. Yesterday, August the 15th, 11 years for Alex Kozora at Steelers Depot.
Do I get a gold watch, or how does this work?
Nah. Talk about the early days.
Yeah, it's crazy. The first article was August 15th of 2013. Jarvis Jones NFL debut against the New York Giants. My tape breakdown on that still exists in kind of pieces on the site. But yeah, I'm not one to reflect too much. I'm not good at it overall, but it's been really fun to just see how the site has come along when it used to be in the early days. Really just you, because even when I started, I was just doing stuff on the side, like an article a week or so. It was really just you trying to run the entire site and hold the fort down. And you did that before me. Obviously, the site was created well before I got here. But the way that it's grown, especially the last couple of years, we've been able to add people to and go through this training camp, which I thought was our best training camp ever from a workflow standpoint, and just kind of being on top of things and being able to provide the most comprehensive and detailed coverage overall is really remarkable. So I'm super grateful for Dave that gave me the chance. I remember our first conversation I was on a corded landline telephone when I talked to you for like 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of get to know each other a little bit and see if I wanted to just try my hand at writing for the site while I was still in college. And to see where things are at today is it's hard to wrap my head around. So it's remarkable, and really proud of you and proud of the site and what we've been able to build and grow and what we will continue to do in the future.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of you as well. For those that don't know, Alex is a managing partner now on Steelers Depot, so he's got more than a vested interest in this and has for quite a while now. Shout out to Matthew Marksey, who came on board with us. Adding both you and Matthew not only help the site, but help distribute the workload. And, with Alex personally, I've seen, it's been a joy to watch over these 11 years. I mean, I've watched Alex, make progress in, his football IQ. And, he's done that mostly on his own, obviously, and research and watching the tape and all like that. I've seen him become just an absolute fantastic blogger, writer overall. His intricacies of learning of what makes a good blog post, and then the things like optimization and structure and all has just been absolutely fantastic. Alex dives into traffic aspects of things, and I've seen Alex grow as a human too. Not that you weren't a good human when you came on here, but it's just been very, very fun. How old were you when you came on board?
11 years ago, I would have been 20.
And how old are you now?
31, into the 30s.
All right. So, I mean, I've seen you go through some crucial years in a person's life there. And I couldn't be more proud of you. And I love you and love Matthew. And man, where's the 11 years gone? So I just want to make sure we didn't just bypass that, because it's a very important date on the calendar there.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, Dave, and for all that you've afforded me. And let's make it 11 more years.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. With that, as always, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way. So until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.